You got to promise me you will never, ever play the blame game again. That's right. You will take the word "I blame you" out of your vocabulary, all right? And I know it's difficult. Why? Because it's easy to blame. Because this is what happens. When you blame somebody else, you don't have to take responsibility. As long as it's somebody else's fault, then you don't have to do the work, all right? But I want to encourage you that even though you get a get out of jail free card when you blame somebody else, the reality is you are no closer to success. That's right. You are no closer to your dreams. When you blame somebody else, you automatically freeze yourself, all right? You trap yourself in that same reality. But when you can get beyond the point of blaming somebody else, making it somebody else's fault, and you can take responsibility, I'm telling you, that's the first key in being successful. So you got to do me a favor. Please stop blaming and take full responsibility. I want you to say something to yourself, right? I don't care if it's 6 people involved. I don't care if it's 5 people involved. At the end of the day, what I want you to say is, "It's my fault." That's right. If you play any part of it, I want you to say it's my fault. Why? Because if you have the courage, if you got the guts to say it's my fault, then you also have the courage and the guts to do something about it and bring about change. Do me a favor. No blaming. All right? You heard it said before. When you point one finger at somebody, you point 3 back to yourself. And so no more blaming. Take full responsibility. Say it's my fault and get to success. And this is one of the reasons why we like to blame other people. Because when we take full responsibility, guess what? It hurts. That's right, it hurts. When we take full responsibility, there's some pain involved, right? But we gotta get over it, all right? I need you to stop running, say it's my fault, take responsibility so that you can move on. And I'm gonna be real. I don't know how many of you guys are like me, but oftentimes when it gets heated, when I was younger and it got heated, I like to run. As a matter of fact, you heard my story. That's why I left home at 16 years old. That's why I was a high school dropout and homeless at the age of 16, because whenever it got tough, whenever it got hard, whenever it got difficult, I took flight. And many of you today, you're on your 3rd marriage. You're on your 2nd divorce. Why? Because every time something gets hard, you run. That's right. You should be finished with school right now. You should be working on your master's or your PhD, but every time it gets hard, every time it gets tough, instead of manning up or being a woman and attacking it and saying it's my fault and dealing with it, you run. If you want to reach a level of success that you have never experienced before, you got to stop running from the problem. You got to stop running from it and run to it, because your success is on the other side of the problem. That's right. You heard what I said. Your success is on the other side of the pain. It's going to hurt a little bit, but take it quickly and move on. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results.
Intelligent people realize that whatever they see in their outer world is coming from themselves, so they always ask this great question, is what is it in me? What is it in me that is causing what's going on in my environment? Now this is the question of the superior person. The average person always tries to blame something in their external environment or someone, past, present, future. The roots of the negative emotion tree are 2 things. They are, first of all, their justification. What we find is that it is impossible to have a negative emotion or a negative feeling of any kind unless you can justify it, unless you can explain why you are entitled to this negative emotion. Why what someone else has done or not done entitles you to this negative emotion. So if we stop justifying, in the Bible, which is a book on psychological and spiritual development, in the Bible, in the Sermon on the Mount, it says, "Judge not that you be not judged." You see, because if you judge, you become a hanging judge, you automatically condemn. If you judge and condemn, you justify, create negative emotions. The worst thing of all is it doesn't affect the other person. It affects you. So if we stop justifying, the negative emotion starts to die. The second part is identification. Identification is where you take things personally. And this is very common. We hear of something that happened, we take it personally, we become angry and upset of something that's happened to someone somewhere else. So if you don't justify and tell yourself you're entitled to this emotion, if you don't identify and take it personally, the emotion starts to die. The fruit starts to die. However, what's more important is the trunk of the tree. The trunk of the negative emotion tree is blame. And all negative emotions require, for their survival, blame. If you stop blaming, you stop the negative emotion. And it's almost like your negative emotion tree is like a Christmas tree that's plugged into the wall. If you jerk it out of the wall, yeah, if you jerk it out of the wall and you cut down the trunk, if you stop blaming, all your negative emotions stop. I told you I spent 4,000 hours, spent years studying this subject. I was overwhelmed by its enormity, because the key to your fulfilling your full potential as a human being is to eliminate your negative emotions. Because if you eliminate negative emotions, what's left? Only positive emotions. Happiness, joy, the one common goal that all human beings have is to be happy. To be happy and joyous and loving and feel wonderful about themselves and their relationships. And the only thing that impairs that is negative emotions. And these negative emotions we'll talk about in a second, or learn. So the key is to stop blaming. And the way that you stop blaming is with a very simple 3-word neutralizer or zapper, and it is the words, I am responsible. I am responsible. So from now on, whenever you think of anything that makes you mad, just say, wait a minute, I'm responsible. I'm responsible. I'm responsible. You see, your mind can only hold one thought at a time, positive or negative. It cannot hold the thought of responsibility and the thought of anger at the same time. Now, people are going to give me every conceivable response to this position, because nobody wants to give up their negative emotions. Doggone it, you've paid for those negative emotions. You've spent years keeping them alive and fertilizing them and justifying them and talking them over with other people and putting water on them and thinking about them and so on. People love their negative emotions. To get them away, you almost need a crowbar to get people to give up their negative emotions. In fact, what we have found is that if you have just one negative emotion that you will not part with, that alone can sabotage your whole life. So the starting point of your achieving the greatness that is possible for you is to get rid of the negative emotions. So when we talk about I am responsible, your ability to respond in an effective way is the critical measure of how much you've become as a human being. In other words, if you can respond effectively to crises, problems, upsets, which may not be legally your fault, if you can respond positively and effectively, it means that you've come a long way. It means you've become one of the best developed human beings on our planet. Because average human beings fall apart, get angry, blow up, go into chaos, throw fits, have tears, threaten to sue, and pour drink down their throat and everything else when they have a reversal. But not top people. Top people say, stay calm here. What's happened? Let's look at it. What do we do now? What's our next action, and so on. So by saying I am responsible, whenever you feel something angry, you neutralize the negative emotion. If you keep repeating the words I am responsible over and over again, pretty soon they become an automatic mantra. Something happens, you start to become angry, you instantly say, wait a minute, I'm responsible.